said, but that's really a matter of apologetics. And I said, well, I don't have anything to apologize for.
Yeah.
I'd never heard the word before, but.
Well, that's a similar experience in that my interest started in this in terms of, I wouldn't have known the word apologetics either, but I don't, in high school, I can't even remember, one of my friends who knew I was a quote Christian said, hey, you got to come to talk to a psychology teacher because he's really saying none of this is true. And so I talked to him after school one day, and I tell you, he threw me off so much I didn't know what end was up, with using analogies that you couldn't get out of, that were just, it was a very well set up kind of formula to kill people's faith.
Yeah.
And I was really thrown by it. And I went home and talked to my brother, who's 5 years older and was more mature in Christ at that point, whatever. And I said, this is really through me. And he said, well, good. And I said, what do you mean good? And he said, well, if you don't start understanding and being able to make the faith your own now, you never will. So that's a great thing that he challenged you that way.
Wow.
That was kind of the beginning of exploring this. And it came out of my own crisis of faith, even. Like that was, I think, sophomore year of high school. So
wow,
that began and I think maybe that's what drove me to have my seminary degree in apologetics and philosophy of religion, because I just thought, man, I just have to understand this better.
Wow. Well, that I didn't. Now I realize I would have not known what those degrees meant back at that time.
Yeah.
But it makes sense then when you guys were trying to get me to read some of the apologetics books, and I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I went away to college, kind of just, no, I don't need that. And I remember feeling like a hypocrite. There was something inside me that said, Don, why are you protesting this? I remember that you and Chris you knew your stuff. I didn't realize that it came from that challenge.
Yeah, that's where.
I can almost picture that psych teacher.
Yeah. So you never know how these experiences are going to, come through at different points in our lives. But I do remember when you went off to college and one weekend you came home and it was just so clear. I really still almost feel the emptiness in my heart, because we're drinking and my heart just sunk,
I remember that very time. I think we went to a swim meet or something, and the carnal Don was coming out, and I'd gotten used to him. I'd gotten used to the cussing and that's just what I had become.
Yeah.
I remember seeing the sadness in your eyes. I knew you loved me. Yeah. And I didn't know what to do about it.
Makes me tear up, because I did and do. I did and do. That was quite a journey that we had together. So
it really was. You were significant. And I remember asking you later, many years after I'd come to Christ, did you think you were a very good evangelist, given your track record with me, before I went to college? And you said no. But you're the one who did most of the heavy lifting, living the life before me, your family, your church praying for me, that stuff. And so it was very easy. The first person I called after I called my mother to tell that I'd come to faith was to call Evan. It wasn't to call all the other people that had seen me more recently as Christians, even though they'd had an impact. But you did the heavy lifting, and you didn't think you were any good at it. But it was your life lived and the light that you were shining, and the love that you had, that it was the music. And man, it got to the point where finally, when the lyrics came along, I said, that must be true.
Wow.
So,
well, what's beautiful about Don, is we don't know how God's going to use us, and it also releases us from what you have mentioned earlier, is having any of our own ego invested in what happens. That we release every conversation to God and say, this is in His hands. And there's a release to that comes to say, this isn't mine to fix. This isn't mine to convert.
Right.
It's mine to be there in love and interact. So
that's great. And isn't that the story of life, raising kids? or as soon as you own it and make it your agenda, then God doesn't get the glory, and you don't get the joy of watching how big he is,
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
he changes people that seem to be really impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what a history. That's just, thank
Oh,
God for
pretty
his
cool.
providence and sovereignty.
Yeah, no kidding. A lot of reason to worship. Yeah.